All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. It's kind of a weird episode in that I'm recording from my pantry. I know that you can't tell necessarily by the sound, but just in case you hear like chips falling or me bumping into boxes of cereal or something, that's what that is. And the guests on this episode are new to the podcast. I don't think I know I haven't had the two of you on this show before, and I've definitely heard the name, quite a bit over the last few years. I know you have a few records out, including a very new one, and I want to get into all that. But before we get started, I think the best way to start this off is if the two of you want to introduce yourselves and maybe just give a bit of background about the group.
Cool.
Sure.
You go first.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm James. The project is called Viva Non. It started out as a solo project, mine.
Okay.
And it formally, essentially, it was like the Will to Power first is like my first kind of foray into doing electronic music. That started in kind of like 2013. Before that, I was in like hardcore punk bands.
I didn't make the connection with the Will to Power. I have a couple of those albums.
Oh, really?
I didn't actually realize that. That's cool. All right, keep going. Sorry to interrupt, but that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, dope. And then, I just kind of like, my style changed enough that I was like, I didn't really like the name, the Will to Power, all that much anyways. And it was just like, okay, it's kind of a good time to change. So then I just started Viva Non as not even necessarily to just be a new project, but it was just kind of like a good time to do a name change.
Okay.
And then I've done like a few records since then, and then started hanging out with this one in like 2017.
They can't see us. Remember, we're on a podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's Catherine over here.
And then actually, I guess let's turn it over to you. Now you can introduce yourself.
So did I join Viva Non in 2016? Is that
2017?
2017. Yeah. So me and James started dating, and then we were like, oh, we're both musicians. We'll just play in each other's bands because it was easier to tour that way.
Convenient,
so
for sure.
Yeah, it was great and way easier because I had a solo project. I mean, I still do have a solo project, Tansy. Yeah. But it's kind of, I don't really do much with it right now. But we decided to do a tour together with Viva Non and Tansy, and then so I started playing synths and kind of collaborating a little bit more. And now we've just been collaborating on Viva Non more, and it's a duo project, I guess, now. So
Yep.
Yeah.
The last record, like Shaping Dust, was kind of already mostly written before we became like a duo.
Okay.
But then this one was like very much like kind of both of us brought this one into the world. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, what is the division of music like between the two of you? Like, who does what, and what works well between the two of you musically?
A lot of the time, there's just like so many jobs that have to be done in a band, and like I'll be the one usually just kind of like looking for like the idea or the direction or something like that.
Yeah.
The one coming up with like 300 terrible ideas and then just like finally finding something that I like, and then we'll kind of like start it working together from there, and then it's just kind of like different every time. Like sometimes like we've done a song where Catherine just like puts like vocals on it, and then that's like what she does. But that kind of is how it goes. We'll kind of like get together to like start like critiquing things and piecing it together.
I think that like ultimately Viva Non is still like James's project.
Okay.
But I kind of come in, I like swoop in on the tail end of like ideas, and then we kind of collaborate from there. And like James mostly like buys our gear, so it's pretty funny. Like all of a sudden he'll be like, I'm buying all these new synths, figure it out. And so then I'm like, oh shit, I have to, oh darn, I have to.
Well, you can say shit on it's podcast.
I can say swear. I can swear.
Hell yes.
I keep thinking I'm on radio, and I'm like, oh no. So it's been pretty funny. Like James sometimes will just be like, we're getting new gear. This is what it is now. So I kind of come in after the fact and like, okay, what are we doing live? Like, how are we playing this? Yeah. So.
Well, that was kind of that was sort of my next question actually is the stuff on the record, is it playable live with the two of you, or is it kind of, do you have to kind of alter the way the songs are structured depending on the equipment you have?
The nice thing about this one is that actually it's kind of more, so live what we do is like I just do the vocals and all of the electronics is Catherine. And in the past, like a lot of what Kath would do would be like playing with filters and stuff. Like we'd send like MIDI to actual synths, and then you just use kind of like different parameters on the synths themselves to like be expressive live, which is great, and that's really fun. And like we're gonna do a lot of that in the future as well. But the fun thing about this record is it has a lot of like leads and stuff like that that can actually just be like played.
Oh, cool.
So we just got like an MPC one over the this like pandemic time or whatever. So we've like sampled all the instruments that have like playable leads. So this is actually going to be a record where like Kath is going to be like doing a lot of like actually playing, which is pretty
right.
fun.
And I kind of feel like that's my, like, I kept bugging James because I come from, I don't even know if you know this either, but like I come from a jazz background. I went to BU with like a bunch of the different jazz cats in Winnipeg. Like I went to school with a bunch of people, and I play saxophone originally. But so when I was in James's project, I was like, okay, but what am I playing? Like what notes are we playing? And he was like, I don't know.
And electronic music is so like weird that. For that, because like it's just like it's different for every project. It's like some people don't play anything. Like so like that recently that we like found, like Molly Nielsen like literally just puts on an MP3 and sings to it.
Yeah.
You know, like and like anything's acceptable because you can just do whatever you want. But like for us, we've always wanted to make it interesting enough for us that we're doing something.
So that was
so at the very least, like we need to like have like 3 or 4 synthesizers like playing live while it's happening, and being able to like mix and just do different things like that. But
try to actually have a little bit of a live show, or like a little bit of it, I don't know, not just a playing the backtrack sort of setup, which we've watched other bands do that, and it's been like a great show. But yeah.
Well, I think electronic music can get away with that because I feel like the vast majority of the audience doesn't know what goes into making the sounds. And I mean, you know, if you're in a more traditional rock band or really any other kind of music, you know, people associate, okay, this is a guitar, this is a saxophone, this is a keyboard. But yeah, when it comes to anything electronic, I mean, even me, you know, I've tried to get into the electronic stuff a lot more recently, and even still, it's just like, I don't know what made that. Where did that noise come from, right? So you can, but it's cool that you are doing the live thing, because I think that's, I think there's probably a temptation to just sit there and like, you know, press a button and dance around as if you're generating this noise with your mind or something, right?
Totally, yeah, and like it really doesn't matter in turn, like, this is just kind of going over the same point, but like it's not for making yourself like legit to the audience, because like that it doesn't matter. Like a lot of people will not be able to tell the difference between what we're doing and just pressing play.
Sure.
So it's for us, which is kind of like fun and funny, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes.
You could take the easy road, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So I hate to ask this question because everyone hates answering it, but and I hate asking you too. But how do you define the type of music you play? I know electronic is such a big, like, you know, large tent genre, and there's so many subgenres, and really you could say electronic music, and you could be describing 500 different things, right? Do you have sort of a shorthand version of if someone runs into you and you haven't seen them in years, and hey, you have a band, like,
sure,
how do you define it?
Right now I'm saying emotive electronic music.
Okay.
And just like every single thing that we've been doing has been different, even like genre wise. I guess like this record that we just put out, it's very like synth pop, like maybe a little bit of new wave in there, but like not even really, you know. And we released a single last winter, which was very like Kraftwerk inspired and like weird, and right now I'm working on just like straight up techno, so it's like it's all over the place. Like Viva Non is just like whatever like we want to do with electronic music, but it's always emotive, and it like lyrically it's always like existential. So I mean, like that's kind of I think we still have an identity, even though we go all over the place.
Yeah, we kind of do go all over the place with the releases, but I think that's kind of fun.
And I don't think genre has to be that important. Like a lot of the projects that I really like kind of do that all the time. Just like, I don't know, there's this Swedish producer Varg, and like he'll like within a year like he released like a crazy like ambient record, and then the next year it was just like trap, you know, like
Okay.
I really like artists like that who just kind of like genre is kind of irrelevant, just like kind of do what inspires you at the moment. Obviously I also really like artists who kind of do the same thing every time, like a Black Marble record, like that is just like a genre in itself, and that's cool too, but not us.
Well, I think genre exists mainly for people like me to like compartmentalize you in my head, right? Because
totally for
the
sure.
thing that we usually get from people that don't really listen to, like, I don't know, like they don't know what cold wave is, or they've never listened to like a lot of heavy electronic like stuff, but they kind of know indie stuff. A lot of people think James sounds like The Cure, like Robert Smith. But I'm like, you don't even listen to The Cure. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't understand how it's so funny. Like, you don't have that as an influence at all, but people are like, oh yeah, Robert Smith. Yeah, I hear that. Like,
weird.
Okay, cool. Like,
yeah, and I don't mean at all that like genre is not a very useful categorization tool, but I'm just saying for this project, it's like release to release, you know, you can put us in a genre like here, but then the next one it'll be totally different.
Well, one thing I like, and I get this from listening to you, that the idea of it being emotive electronic music is that it always seems funny to me because emotion and computers, you know, they seem so like like they're against each other, right? Like one thing is so human and one thing is so digital electronic. How do you combine the two? Because it works. I mean, I think the word emotive definitely suits what it is you're doing, but how do you make feeling come out of something so cold and mechanical?
I always love juxtaposition. Like when it's this is so funny to be bringing this up, but like when it's like Christmas Day, like I want to be watching like a documentary on Satanism. Like, you know, I don't know what it is, but
James
like
did do that, and I got mad at him. I was like, do we really have to be watching a documentary about this Church of Satan? It's Christmas.
I don't know. There's just like something like, yeah, I don't really know exactly technically how to make it work. But when you have like two things that are just like so polar opposite, like there's always like this just comfortable, it's not even like middle ground because they need to like interact in a way, but I don't know. I really like juxtaposition in art. I like happy sad music is my favorite. That kind of thing. I like, so I think it's like that with synthesizer music, just like with like cold, like, you know, a computer is making a sine wave. And you just manipulate it in a way to be emotive. I find that really beautiful. It's really hard. And that's why like it takes so much friggin' time in the studio to like come up with a decent idea, because you'll have 300 that just sound like a computer making bullshit noise.
Yeah, like trying to find, I think that James, you're very inherently good at finding like melodic expression in lines. I think that that's like what I've noticed about like how you write music. So like you have like a very good sense of like you're very good at like making something expressive from a synth line, which is cool. I think that comes out on this record that we just put out pretty well. Like, yeah,
well, I mean, I think I read in one of the bios you had, it might have been on Bandcamp or something, that word emotive was in there, and it was like, this sounds like it. There's feeling in this, but it's coming out of a synthesizer. Which, I mean, it's maybe not fair for me to assume that all synthesizers need to sound like just strictly bleeps and bloops, right? Because there's clearly so many examples of that not being the case. But it's always cool to see those two things mesh for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I think that maybe you feel it more in like ambient music. Like ambient music is very emotional and stuff, and that's mostly like a lot of it's just synthesized.
Yeah.
But to have it be danceable as well, it's kind of like, I like that. I like that combo.
Well, yeah, because ambient stuff is almost more cinematic, right? Because it's just like an atmosphere. Yeah. Well, I'm sick of talking about the pandemic, but I have to because we're all dealing with this right now.
Of course.
I always ask people who are releasing music during this bizarre time we're in, like, what is it like to put out an album now? Because it was just a few weeks ago, I guess, or days ago even, that you released this, right? And like, obviously you're able to be in the same room as each other, which is nice. I mean, a lot of bands don't have that luxury. But
Yeah.
what has the situation been like for just putting on an album when you know you can't necessarily release it, promote it, support it in the way that you would have been able to otherwise?
It was really great, actually.
We are lucky that we can play together. Putting that out there, there's a lot of other people that are not in this position. We have a home studio. We live together. Like, yeah, just saying that. But
yeah, so really cool.
Knowing that, it was really great.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it really made us hone in on just the fact that, like, okay, like, we can't rely on touring on this record to promote it. Like, we need to use the internet, you know, like, that's all we have. And we hired David Schellenberg, who is running this new company called Signal Noise, like a digital marketing thing. And he was just awesome and really helped us, just like find new fans for the band and the record. And it went really well. Like, we had a really great release, like, just compared to like our previous releases, you know, like much better than anything we've ever done, which is, you know, pretty crazy in that just like we don't have the like a lot of, before it was a lot of the mindset was toward like touring and just like telling people like, we're going to be in your city in 2 weeks, like check this out and come see it, and that's pretty exciting. But this was just all about the music and just like, like if you want to check it out, go for it. And so it was cool. Like I almost, at the start of the pandemic, I was like, I'm gonna wait till this shit's over to release new music, because like all I care about is traveling on it. So I'm gonna wait. But I'm really glad that I'm glad that the mindset kind of changed, because it was actually a great experience to release it.
And like, I don't know if other and I don't know if other artists had this experience or not, but like, you kind of, there's like less pressure in some ways, because like you're not adhering to some touring schedule. You're not adhering, like, we didn't do a physical release, we did a digital only release. We told our label, like, we're on Negative Gain label in the States, and like we told them what we were doing, but we were like, okay, we're just digitally releasing it, like this is the plan, it's pretty casual. And like, I don't know, we were able to just shape the record how we wanted, and we didn't have deadlines. And it kind of made us realize that like doing it DIY, you've always done things DIY, like for Viva Non, and like it was kind of nice to do it all DIY again, and just
our label probably wanted us to adhere to deadlines a little bit more than we did. Like, we sent it to them like very last minute, but it
didn't matter. It was fine. We weren't printing anything. Whatever.
Yeah, there's no pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're not paying for our vinyls, then like screw it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Love you, Roger and Micah, if you're listening this far into this.
They're not gonna listen to this.
Do you are you planning on potentially releasing this physically, you know, assuming things change with the pandemic situation, or depending on the reaction to the record, or are you quite happy with the just digital only version?
I think I'm happy. Like, I want to release physical stuff in the future, but I'm already working on new stuff. And that's the thing, when you release a record, like, my favorite part is just like walking away and like on to the next. So that's how my mind works. And
the record we just released, We Grow, is like it's under 25 minutes. It's not it's a full length, but it's not super long, and it was kind of a nice little tight little package.
But keep people aware of you, even if you're not touring and not doing things the old way.
It was kind of nice to just focus on like, let's see how many people we can reach outside of Winnipeg. Let's see what we can, you know, who we can reach on social media from videos or from these new tracks. Or it was kind of like a fun way to connect with people during the pandemic when we couldn't actually see people.
It felt really organic. It felt just really natural. It was good.
Do you think that's going to help you in the future too, once touring becomes a possibility again, now that you have all these connections, you know, outside of the city?
I think like we'll release music in a very similar way going forward. It was just a lovely experience. And then obviously, like, it'll be much more exciting to be able to put the live shows around that and to kind of like plan that into the releases and stuff.
And there's not like a huge scene in Winnipeg for electronic stuff, and like we've had success touring in Canada and stuff, but we really want to tour Europe, and so we have a lot of listeners in Germany right now. So we're like, hey, maybe we'll go to Germany.
Go to Germany.
Yeah. Well, once travel becomes a thing again,
Exactly.
So obviously, like there's no physical copies available. What's the best way for someone to check out this new record? Where would you kind of direct them towards if they're hearing it for the first time here?
Sure. VivaNonMusic.com just is our landing page, and that'll give you links to our Spotify, Bandcamp, or Apple Music. So that's just kind of what we've been putting everywhere. Just go to our website and choose what you want to go on. Bandcamp's great, obviously. That's the most that's the best way to support financially or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm a listener too. I use Spotify, so listen wherever you want to listen. All we really care about is people listening to it,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it is Bandcamp Friday on this Friday. I don't know when the podcast is coming.
It'll be over by then, but there'll be another one coming up, right? They always do it.
So, there'll be another Bandcamp Friday, so gotta hit it up.
Yeah, that's been kind of a saving thing for a lot of bands this year, because they just haven't been able to sell. Merch is so hard to sell when you don't have a show to sell it at.
Yeah, and so many people make so much money off merch. Yeah, we went on tour with another band on our label, Mr. Kitty. I guess, was it almost 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sells so much merch at his shows, and then they're in the States, so they don't have a lot of arts funding like we do in Canada. And so just to try to slog your merch online and ship it everywhere, and I don't know, it was just so bad.
I did realize though, for that tour we just made a really bad move. We were playing all these goth shows, and we did not have a black t-shirt for sale.
We didn't have a black t-shirt. What were we thinking? How dare we?
Wrong move.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now you know. Now next time you play goth shows, get a bunch of black merch. Yeah,
exactly.
We always get booked at goth shows. That's our go-to. So
yeah, for sure.
Is that something that you seek out, or is it just where people decide to put you? Is it the genre thing where someone's trying to place you somewhere and they end up in a goth?
No, that's just the people that like us.
Yeah.
Are all just because it's similar influences. If people are into goth, they like New Order, and stuff like that, and they hear that influence in our music, and even though it's not as dark as a lot of stuff in that scene, it gets accepted pretty well there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Kind of the community that has embraced us, which is really nice.
Yeah.
That's I guess unexpected, right? But it's cool to get that fan base showing up and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Yeah.